I've always said that it seems to me that there's nothing too big that Mother Nature can't hold.
Somebody told me once, they said, do two things with your teenagers: get a hot tub because they're forced to sit there and with you and they loosen up.
And my work started just traditionally running a private practice, which I loved. But oddly enough, Brandon is part of even the evolution of my professional life. We together decided to start the Latter-day Struggles podcast. It happened. And the Latter-day Struggles podcast has, I have lost track, but it's well over 1 million downloads in the 3 years it's been around. And it's become really my passion project. I feel passionate that faith is such a deep part of our identity that it's something that we have to navigate, bearing in mind all of the complexity of it. It just is really rewarding because people can actually overcome the overwhelming, I don't know, it feels like people's identities almost crumble when they go through a faith crisis. And then, of course, their marriages struggle deeply too, but people can get better, and they do.
But it seems that almost always there is a concurrently running wrestle with or development with faith, God, spirituality, and that part doesn't quite get spoken of as much as the bad behavior or the betrayal that happened, even though it's a massive part for both the individual and the couple as they're trying to climb out of the hole that they found themselves in.
To listen to Latter day Struggles, that's not going to keep you in the church or out of the church. It's going to help you understand yourself better and who you actually are.
When one partner starts to evolve, is they are outside of their own consciousness, redefining the terms of the relationship. And that is legitimately terrifying.
It's almost like they feel like it's unfair. Hey, we had an agreement. We were going to live this way. We were going to do it this way. We're going to do this. And now all of a sudden you're stepping out of that. That does feel like its own form of betrayal in some ways. And they get caught up in that place of like lack of justice, lack of fairness.
I don't ever want to lose track of my compassion for and my understanding of how scary that is for a relationship. The thing that I have an awareness of that I'm sure you both do too is the more one tries to like pressure somebody to be who they're not, the more they actually end up getting stuck.
One of the first things he said was differentiating between belief and values. Like what do you mean?
They come together with these hopes and dreams about how marriage life and family life is going to unfold. And oftentimes it's very much embedded in their cultural system of belief, whatever that is. How can the both of you still acknowledge and see within yourself and share with the partner that hasn't changed? We're trying to expand their capacity to see that they are in fact still in love with the same person. And maybe that person believes or has a different belief system. But the thing that I fell in love with you for, you're manifesting in a different way that's going to show up differently, but you're not as scary and foreign as I thought you were because I'm not keeping our relationship simple.
It seems like we as human beings, we tend to want to work towards a place of security and safety, including inside of our faith. And then when this happens, it almost peels the scab off and helps us realize that we live in an actual world, and the way that we are as human beings is that that change is constant. The development of faith is going to be an ongoing thing until we die.
There are so many unknowns. And I think for that reason, I give myself even grace at how many years, I could almost say decades, maybe I could say decades actually, that I stayed like safe in the structure, and it might even say the constraints of a system that did help me. We're not here to stay safe. We're here actually to grow, in the greatest manifestation of, I think, of our potential as spiritual beings is actually to have the courage to grow, even when it means pushing against a little bit of what the culture says is pathological about our growth.
I think of me, Jenny, and Jesus, we're like fused together. And do you know what I mean? And that's what I was taught.
I normalize the distress in a relationship that is going through this, because what you're describing is undoing on a good day and completely and totally traumatic on a bad day. Partnerships do need to gain some degree of critical awareness. And I do put a lot of I don't, again, this wouldn't be explicit, but I'm grateful that I have a massive amount of compassion for the person that is not on the faith journey still, because they are being asked to evaluate something that they didn't really sign up for. Like they need to be able to handle a lot of growth that they didn't step into on their own terms, and try to make space for the depth of their belief while holding the tension of the fact that there is a depth of love that is pressuring them to be pushed beyond probably what they're comfortable with. And I think that needs to be appreciated, because we don't generally grow unless we're thrown into, or thrust, like you said, thrust into some pretty deep discomfort that something isn't working.
The meaning of his name is one who wrestles with God. That's how he got his new name, was the wrestle itself.
The core of the gospel of Jesus Christ, as I understand it, is love. And I am going to choose to manifest that love, because one thing I do not believe and never will believe is that God would want me to choose. What we're talking about is something that brought you together in the first place, which is I choose you because I love you and I care about this relationship. And this relationship matters to me, notwithstanding, because again, what we're looking at is independent of any given topic, at the soul and core of relationship, and also incidentally of one's faith. Like the foundation of faith itself is about embodying love and compassion. This is maturity, and this is differentiation, and this is anxiety management, maybe at its height, because what it's calling forth is truly, I think, the meaning of actual love, which is putting aside all of the anxieties and fears that I have. The faith journey is a spiritual evolution journey. It's about a spiritual awakening. The core of any of the great wisdom figures of any of the great traditions is to pause and embody love. Because here we are learning a skill set that we can only learn by going through the valley of the shadow of something like that, and loving the person enough that we get out of our own way and do the scary thing that we don't know how to do yet.
Faith differing in your relationship is actually a really exciting thing, and it's an awesome opportunity for some real good connection and growth as a couple.